Let's give an incredible round of applause for the maestros of tonight, Scott Beck and Brian Woods. How do you feel seeing it? I mean, I got to say, the theater, I don't know if there's a better screen to watch a movie on than myself.
We were just commenting, like, so much, you know, as writers of also A Quiet Place, like, obviously sound design is as important to us as a special effect as anything. We've never heard the movie sound this good. And part of that is you guys, too. So thank you for coming out and watching this on a big screen.
Yeah, give a round of applause. It's nice. It is one of those things. I don't know if any other screening, unless it's at a festival somewhere or another country, you're going to get to see it this good. So you guys really got to experience, I would say, the way we all thought. But let's talk about this idea. Let's talk about, and you know, then we can also get to Quiet Place. But let's talk about Han, since it's all fresh in our minds. Because you guys, I have to say, you know, having been on the directing side, movies, the producing side, I know what it takes to pull off a movie on a low budget and to make it look big and theatrical. And I think everything you guys did was world class. I think you did such a fantastic job of the direction, from the acting, the photography, the music, the sound design. I'd love to know your approach to this material, working as a team. Where did it come from?
Well, first and foremost, Eli, everything we learned about filmmaking was from watching your DVDs and your commentary tracks. So
That's someone good.
if you're not a fan, then we messed up. But no, it was an idea. Todd Garner, our producer, he wanted to do a movie about a haunted house, and he kind of came to us and he's like, "Do you guys have any ideas you want to elaborate on? Like, do you have?" And we just kind of started throwing ideas against the wall.
And I think we look back at our childhood growing up in Iowa. Because Brian and I, we've known each other since we were 11 years old, and we've been making movies just as long. And the haunted houses of our childhood back in the Quad Cities where we grew up, those weren't, you know, universal horror nights. They weren't produced with a lot of money. They were basically shells of abandoned factories that, you know, local actors would love to just put up, you know, costumes and put up sparse decorations, and then just scare the hell out of you in pure darkness. And it wasn't about assaulting your senses, it was more about the silence between the scares.
Yeah, well, that's how I got involved, because Todd Garner is our producer here tonight. We should give Todd a round of applause. And Todd's the one who brought it, and I think Todd was making a film in Atlanta and saw a warehouse where there was a haunt, and thought, man, what if people got killed in there? But you guys added so, you know, Harper and Bailey, and just and Nathan and the characters, the backstory. You know, it's so kind of easy. A lot of people approach a movie like this and they say, all right, well, it's a haunted house, and we got this many kids, and this many kills, and this many traps. How are we gonna hack them apart? And I think what you guys did so brilliantly is you actually gave us characters and a story we care about. How do you work? Do you work from the characters in the writing process? Do you start with the characters, or do you start with the kills?
Sometimes we start with a concept and then transition into a theme. So for A Quiet Place, for example, like we knew we wanted to do a movie about if you make a sound, you die. And this family can't talk to each other, but we thought it would be, we weren't excited about it until we came up with the idea that thematically they lost someone in their family and now they're not speaking. And even if these aliens didn't come to Earth, they still wouldn't be talking to each other. And Haunt was the same way. Like, we're like, okay, if we're gonna do a Halloween movie, if we're gonna do a haunted house movie, what is Halloween? And Halloween is all about playing dress up, putting on a mask, becoming somebody that you're not, putting on a front. And we felt like that was a cool or interesting thematic underbelly for the character of Harper, who is putting on a metaphorical mask every day of her life. She's pretending like everything's okay. Her life is put together, and through the journey of the film, she'll have to take that mask off.
You know, because as someone who works on his own as a director, I'm always curious, how two people kind of share a brain and split the creative duties and finish each other's sentences the way you guys do. So I'd love to know your process directing when you get on set, but also sort of what you learned from your first film, Nightlight, which is a fantastic film if you guys haven't seen it. And sort of, because this to me, as much as I love that film, felt like a quantum leap forward in your directing. It felt like a much more mature.
Well, thank you for saying that. I mean, like our process is, one, we've known each other for over 20 years now, so we've grown up with the same inspirations, the same sensibilities, so we do feel like we share a mind. But beyond that, we try to have all our arguments finished by the time we're in front of any other collaborator. And granted, we rarely have true arguments, but really what we try to bring to the table is we're storyboarding meticulously, so we know exactly where we want to put the camera to tell the story the way that I think we intended on the page. But we also come from the sense of no ego. We live by the mantra that best idea wins, and if somebody's arguing passionately, it's not because they think, oh, I have the best idea, it's that it's the best idea for the story.
And Eli, like, making films is so collaborative anyways, you know what I mean? Like, we're leaning so heavily on our amazing crew, and especially in this film, just everyone came to bat for us and did such incredible work, so it's fun to be arbiters and have kind of two opinions on everything, all the amazing work that is brought to
Can we momentarily just acknowledge the crew? Anybody that worked on the crew, please stand up. This is what it takes to make a movie. Like, it's not just us two. I think about, like, tonight it never struck me, but there's the shot as the ghost is climbing out into that blue corridor before he nails everybody shut. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, on the page, that's just, a ghost crawls out and stands up. But it takes, our DP to actually, and our gaffer to find that blue light that stands over there. It takes Austin and Jason, our art director and our production designer, to create that blue corridor. It takes Nancy to create that costume that's flowing. And so that's just an example of like a small piece where everybody puts their fingerprints on this.
Well, it's, they say that, one of the reasons that I love horror movies is that, and this is what Hitchcock obviously did, was that it's cinema first. It's the purest form of cinema. It's not people talking. The camera is telling the story. The camera is, and the direction is so important. And I think it's interesting because in producing the movie, I was so excited, and then House of the Clock on Its Walls, and the timing just worked that both movies shot at the exact same time. As much as we tried to do one first, so I was shooting my movie, but I was looking at the dailies. I get the dailies every day, and I was just blown away by the footage you had, and the shots, and the way you use the X-rays and shadows and negative space. Can you talk about sort of what the design, the working with Ryan, your cinematographer? It's just, it's really one of those beautiful looking horror movies that I've seen in a long time, especially for the subject matter. People, if you see a lot of these kind of Saw knockoff kind of movies, they always look grimy and grisly, and this is like, it's so pretty.
Thank you. Like one of our visual inspirations, and also from a story standpoint, is David Fincher's The Game, where that's such a strong film with the narrative where you're on unsure footing every step of the way. You don't know what's real and what's not, and we loved playing with that thematically and also visually. And so with Ryan, it was a lot of culminating these different looks that would facilitate different rooms. Because when you're working on a budget, you're not able to build, the $150 million version of a haunted house. You had to build these corridors that you could have a distinct memory when you're backtracking through it. So from a story standpoint, you know exactly where like our character of Evan is. So part of that is the lighting design and using these LED lights and using different color temperatures to kind of change the geography of where we are.
Another thing that I think of when we talk about the visuals, like when we hired Austin Gorg, who production designed this film, we did it based on his art directing credits, because he had art directed, in our opinion, some of the most gorgeously designed movies in cinema history of the last 10, 15 years. He did La La Land, Her, Midnight Special, on, Neon Demon. And so we sat down with him and thinking like, we're not here to hire a horror guy. Like, we love horror movies, you love horror movies, we'll take care of that.
We got the horror covered.
Exactly. We'll cover that. Just make it look beautiful. But the cool thing was, the first thing that Austin and us talked about when we sat down was Mario Bava. And he loves Mario Bava, and I think visually that we were chasing that kind of Italian giallo, just like gorgeous shots with simple stories, lots of color,
rich lighting. It was really, really beautiful.
Exactly, and moving the camera as much as we can.
Also music, Tom and Andy. I've seen a lot of I'm a big fan of theirs as composers. But I remember the first time I actually saw the score. I didn't hear any music. I watched it projected, and just from the opening, I was really, really blown away. Can you talk about the musical influences?
We hired them because we've been fans of them since Arlington Road came out 20 years ago, and their collaborations with Mark Pellington have been fantastic. And there was one score that I remember us listening to all the time. I think when we were writing the script and in pre-production, it was the score for Brian Bertino's The Monster. And what was fantastic about that is it not only nailed horror, but it also nailed an emotional cue. And we knew, much as we were talking about earlier, this isn't just a haunted house movie, it's a movie about Harper trying to surmount trauma, that there was going to be that through line there and that emotional blend that we needed. But you know, it's a haunted house movie too, and it needs pace, and that's something that we kept going back to Tom and Andy, trying to figure out, like, how can you help us out with having a pace and build this momentum where the suspense starts to snowball.
Yeah, you really used the sound design, and the music did that beautiful job matching with the sound design, where it goes from the sound design into music. There's this real palpable feeling of dread and tension, and also that, I remember watching that one shot where you're just at the car and they're all getting out and you just pull out, and the whole scene with the keys, that really, everything is so well thought out and so meticulously done. But tell everyone how many days you had to film the movie.
It was tight.
I think we had like 24 originally, and then just by virtue of film production, we had 3 days cut, so I think we ended up at 21, and anyone who works in film production,
it just happened.
Thanks, Eli.
Like trying to give them less days. No, but that's when you see, you know, who the real directors are that can step up. It's you know, Kubrick said making a movie is, you know, compromising. It's having a vision and compromising it 100%. And it's like, the real question is, how well can you tap dance, and how well can you adjust when your days are taken away from you and there's just unforeseen circumstances. So talk about the casting, because one of the things I really love, you know, in a horror movie, I always watch, I'm like, oh, you know, the blonde girl, not the boyfriend, the guy with the dark, like, I sort of identify, you kind of forget who the actors are, who the characters, the names are. And this is one of those movies, there's the rare movie you can watch it and remember every character's name because the casting is so good. And again, shout out to the cast who did really such a superb job. Talk about finding them, working with them, because also you got them to, you know, play the comedy, play the humor, and the terror, which is not easy.
Well, it was a lot of conversations with Nancy Mayer, our casting director, who did such a wonderful job. She has her fingers on the pulse of, like, who are all the excellent kind of upcoming young actors. And all we really told her was we wanted to chase kind of that Richard Linklater school of ensemble, naturalistic casting. So like Dazed and Confused or Everybody Wants Some. We literally plucked Will Britton, who plays Nathan, out of Everybody Wants Some because we were such huge fans of his work, and that was precisely the style that we wanted to chase.
And I think everybody else, what we love doing on set is just doing a few takes as scripted and then just say, let it loose, like do your own thing. And so much of the improv where, you know, hopefully it's feeling really alive, that's on like our 6th or 7th take where it's mostly the actors and it's rare to have everybody feel like a team where there's camaraderie, but everybody here gel to the point where there's scenes that are intense in like the late 2nd and 3rd act where, let's just say we've got Evan on screen and it's really intense. Shazi will be standing off screen, not just doing her lines, but she will be giving it 100%, so that then, therefore, Andrew Caldwell can give 100%. And there was just that type of spirit running throughout the entirety of this film, which is unique to us and incredibly rare.
Yeah, no, it's when you have a cast that does that for each other. I mean, as I did for Brad and Glorious Bastards, I was there. No, but when you see that, when there's an actor and the camera's on and the people that are off camera and are fully giving the full performance, it just elevates the whole material. But let's talk about some of the local casting, because I find often when you do a horror film, you'll plan some huge, giant set piece, you'll spend all these prosthetics, and then it's just like a dude just going, Mitch, is fucking scarier than anything in the movie. You're like, did that guy just kind of steal the movie? Like, it's amazing. Like, those guys you got are so fucking creepy that I know they're not like that in real life, but I want to believe that they're like that. Talk about the local guys you found.
The actor who played Mitch, in particular, the ghost, he was a manager at Waffle House.
It feels like it. You feel like you're being, that's what makes it so real. You feel like you're being killed by a manager at Waffle House. Sometimes you go to Waffle House and you're like, that guy's a fucking serial killer, I know it. And you actually tuned into that and made him a killer. That's why it's so fucking scary.
And you know how it goes with local casting, where you do, a lot of times you take in actor after actor, and you're just like, oh, they're just not quite up to snuff. You know, like a lot of the great actors oftentimes do move out to the coast to kind of make it happen. When he walked in, Cheney Morrow is his name, when he walked in, Scott and I were just like, we're casting him in one of these roles. We have no idea what, but he has a role. He was just that talented.
And then beyond that, the actor who plays the clown, Justin Markson, he is actually, we've known him since we were 15 or 16 years old back in Iowa.
Wait,
Justin, you there?
Oh, there he is.
Crush it.
Mask off.
So, in real life, Justin is the nicest guy in the world. He will drive you to the airport even if you live in Pasadena and you need to get to LAX, and he will never complain. And he actually auditioned for the movie 4 times because Brian and I, we always...
You've known him since you were 15,
Yes.
so you wanted to fuck with him, or?
He's just the nicest guy in the world, so he was doing great, but he just didn't convince us that he was a clown because of our own bias, to the point where on the 4th audition, we were showing it around to you guys and our other producers, and we're like, I don't know, we need to lean on your expertise because we're too close to this. And you guys were like, what are you thinking? Like, just cast him, pick up the phone and cast him, and that's how he's in the movie now. And we wrapped, I think, 15 years to the very day that we premiered our first student film together when we were teenagers.
Wow.
So it was a very special way to wrap with the flames burning down the lawn.
Well, let me just get a show of hands. So how many people out here are filmmakers themselves or are aspiring? Okay, great, because I want to know, I'm always interested, because you see the people in the chair, you're watching the movie. When I was online at the Fangoria convention going to this, I'd go, just tell me how you get there. What do you do? Why don't you tell us how you got to where you are?
Just through failing over and over and over again, and that's just how it's done. You know what I mean? Like you write scripts. We probably wrote 30 screenplays before we were ever professional screenwriters.
Where did you guys go to school?
We went to University of Iowa. We looked at doing films. Go Hawks. There were so many options of going to film school, but we were already making so many movies outside just because it was our passion that we were like, let's just keep making movies. We'll do an education on the side, and we'll try to pass college. But what happened in college is the door to Hollywood cracked open slightly. We won a competition that resulted in a development deal with MTV Films, which to us were like, the foot's in the door, we're gonna get the agent, we're gonna get the big movie. Little did we know MTV Films was like, oh, they're just 2 kids from Iowa, let's pay them off, and we're not gonna treat this as a real development deal. But we were able to put that feather in our cap, kind of go around, fake it till you make it, and be like, hey, we've got this MTV development deal, can we get a meeting? We remember this is like the biggest linchpin in our career is 1 week, we were like 22, 23 years old. We used this MTV development deal to find an entertainment attorney that we knew through a friend. The attorney was like, hey, since you got this deal, I'll set you up with CAA, ICM, Gersh. We're gonna get you in front of agents. We sit down and it's a dream come true. Like they're telling you everything that you want to hear. That you're gonna make it.
You're looking for writers of Star Wars. You guys are great for that. I think they're doing another Raiders. Did you guys? What about you? You guys like Jurassic Park?
It feels like you're on an episode of Entourage, essentially. And we leave those meetings feeling like, we've made it, we're gonna get signed. 3 days later, we find out they read our latest spec script and they all passed. That same day, we get 2 emails, one from the Sundance Screenwriters Lab where we submitted a script, and one from the Nichols Fellowship, and they both passed us. And then we had submitted a script to a producer friend of ours who emailed us back feedback. We open up being like, well, at least we'll know how to improve our script. And the first line of it says, hey guys, I could barely get through 20 pages of your screenplay before I had to put it down. And all this culminated in 1 week. And Brian and I looked at each other and we're like, we already failed and flunked out of Hollywood before we even got into the industry. And we started, moping around, feeling really, really down on ourselves. And they're like, wait, like what else are we going to do? This is our passion. Rejection is going to be 100% of our experiences going forward. Fuck it. Let's just write another script.
Good for you.
We did that again and again. And we got to the point where, we're able to write things for our own backyard to a certain degree. We always qualified as that. Like Quiet Place was something that we wrote knowing like nobody was really looking for a silent movie that's mashed with a genre picture. And we thought, hey, we've got a friend's farm that's in Iowa. We could raise $50,000. The biggest visual effect that we'll lean into is actually sound design, and we'll write this in case nobody ever wants to make this in the studio system. And it's the same thing with Haunt.
I remember when we were kind of getting going on Haunt, and Scott sends me this thing. He's like, "Hey, John Krasinski's going to direct the guy's script," and we're like, "Wow, that's fucking the guy who did the Hollers." Wow, like John, that's cool that he's into horror. I didn't know. And then of course it turns into a phenomenon. I can't remember the exact timeline, but tell me where you were in the process of writing Quiet Place and writing Haunt, and having both of these things kind of hit at the same time, because we were like editing this when Quiet Place became the phenomenon that it is.
Yeah, I mean, we were writing them really simultaneously, and that's like, we think of the two movies as like, they kind of have a conversation between the two of them. Like, they both have like somebody stepping on a nail, like they've got shotguns, they've got echoes of each other, which we think is for us kind of a fun keepsake of the fact that they were written at the same time, and also written with the mindset that it's hard to get a movie made. And probably neither of these will get made, but we're just gonna do our damnedest. And it was just, honestly, it was a surreal year when they kind of both started to materialize at the same time. But it was funny, you're right, we were in editing on Haunt while A Quiet Place was starting to roll out, and everyone was always kind of like, wow, you guys like just drinking it in and loving the A Quiet Place love. And we're like, yeah, we're working on this other movie, like we're in it. We're like, when you're in the edit room, like you're fighting for your life and trying to make it as good as possible. So it was crazy.
No, it's incredible. So talk about life, obviously after Quiet Place. It's interesting how you write your material. Like it's like for me, before and after I was a director, suddenly everything you write, oh, it's suddenly good. It was the same script it was 2 years ago, but now people are going, this is actually great. Tell me about how things have kind of changed for you, and what you'd like to be doing next. And I mean, look, I think you guys can do anything, writing, directing. You're just so fantastically creative in so many ways. But what are you looking to do next?
In the wake of Quiet Place, or I'll back up. Like, we wrote Quiet Place and we wrote Haunt because we just love original stories. Like, when we were kids, the movies that we flocked to, they weren't titles that we recognized. They weren't necessarily sequels, even though we still go to the multiplex, and we love, we can't wait for the 7th and 8th Mission Impossible or the latest Marvel movies. But like, our appetite as kids and therefore filmmakers was always, let's just do something that nobody has ever seen before. And it's funny being on the other side of Quiet Place now, especially now that there's the sequel happening and there's franchises being built at Paramount on this, because our instinct was always, no, it's one and done. And then what we want to do, if that movie hits, is be able to do the next big, crazy, original idea. And so in the wake of A Quiet Place, one of the many things that we're working on is actually this other wild, crazy idea that if we, pitched it to a studio, maybe they would buy it in the wake of Quiet Place, but they might also think we're fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we, like, that afterglow of A Quiet Place literally was like several studios being like, we will buy your next project off of a log line. And we said no, and I'm sure we'll regret it in a month or two when they don't end up buying the script, but our instinct was, we're gonna incubate it, and we're gonna write the best thing we possibly can, and if you wanna buy it when it's ready, then awesome, but if you don't, that's cool too.
Yeah, and then you're gonna know if they were for real or not.
Exactly.
The worst thing is to take the money, and then you write something, and then they hate it, and then you feel bad. Exactly. Not bad enough to give the money back, but a little bad. Guys, I just wanna say, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure working. This was really one of the fun ones. It was a passion project. All the money went right up on the screen. We just wanted to make a great movie. And I think you guys just hit it out of the park, and I cannot wait to see what's next. And you guys are such a great audience. And as you can see, this is definitely what we would call a word of mouth, grassroots movie. And you're the first ones to see it. So getting out there But you have a responsibility that if you like the movie and you like the guys and you like their indie spirit, honestly, getting out there, putting it out there on social will make a huge difference for the movie. Trust me, they'll repost everything. I will too. Like, it really will help kind of create the first impression of what the movie is. You guys are kind of, it's really, it's not like a critical, dark, I mean, critics never feel good supporting a movie like this. So it's really, really helpful when you guys do that. And thanks to everyone at The Egyptian and to all my fellow producers and Todd Garner and everyone at Nickel City and Nick Meyer and Josie Lang and everyone that helped us. This has really been a great night.
Thank you so much, Eli. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.